So, let's talk about Teams. In this session we are joined by a special guest.
So let's talk about Teams. In this session, we are joined with a very special guest, Michael Tressler. Welcome to this call. So Michael, maybe if you could start by telling a little bit about yourself.
So I am a senior solutions consultant at Jabra, focused on video. Jabra is, known as a headset company, but we have cameras and video and meeting room stuff. So I'm on that side. Before I joined Jabra, I was at Microsoft and focusing on Teams devices primarily. So Teams Rooms, Teams Phone, all the other stuff. So that's kind of my background.
We talked about in this session, what we're going to talk a bit about what kind of features that we have in Teams. So like there's a regular meeting as most of people are using. There's also the webinar. And then of course, also, even though it's not the same platform, but it's still used from Teams, that's like live events. So in which occasion should we use a meeting versus webinar versus a live event? What are your experience, Michael?
Well, live event is the easy one because that's town hall, that's broadcast, that's like television. Couple people, one or two speakers, they present something, be it training, be it the annual company report or whatever, and the end users, the people attending, are basically watching. There's a little Q&A, you can submit some questions, but primarily it's a one-way street from the speaker to you.
It's like the old days, Flow TV.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the official thing? Are they still saying up to 10,000, but they support up to 20,000 temporarily, and temporarily has been like 3 years now?
Yeah, I think.
Or they actually pushed it to 20,000 now?
Yeah,
it's not been pushed as far as I know.
Still got the overflow, right, on normal meetings and webinars. That then, if like in a normal meeting, of course you will be live on and you have that interaction. But then if you're over the certain amount, if that is 10,000, then you would go to 11,000, 12,000, then that would be like a live stream for those guys. Well, Denmark's not that big, so we don't often have that issue.
I don't think I've ever been on a meeting with more than like 1,000 or 2,000 people on it.
No.
I'm trying to think, because I know when I did the boot camps at Microsoft, we had at most maybe 1,400 or 1,500 people at once. But the Microsoft town hall stuff, I don't know how many. I guess I was just an attendee. I don't know how many people there. Right, Microsoft's got 200,000 employees. Not all 200,000 were tuned in, so I don't know how many people they got for the live, and then they were always recorded and you could watch them later. So I'm not sure where that was.
But yeah, I think that's one of the real benefits of. I know even you can do like a recording of a live event, but in the live events, it seems like a lot of people still sign up for webinars and live events, even though they know they're not attending, but that's just to make sure that they can see it afterwards. And that's kind of a trend that I saw like in the early pandemic, we like have almost all people signing up. They actually joined the session, but then during the pandemic, it's kind of lowered like dramatically because it was like, I don't have the time, but I still want to see it. But I'm just going to see it afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Even for regular meetings, because I'm at Jabra, we're a global company, so they'll often have meetings for like Asia Pacific and parts of Europe, and then Europe and North America. And there are times where it's awesome. It was like the meeting was at 3 a.m. my time. I'm sleeping. If you get up at 8 a.m., it's like, you know what? I'm going to watch the recording of the Asia Pacific one because I'm going to miss the one in our time zone. So recorded meetings actually watch a fair amount. Just because you can fit it into your schedule more easily, especially if you're heavily booked or traveling a lot.
And then again, as long as it's one to many, so it's something where you just receive information where you don't have to participate in. I mean, again, back to what are the main thing there? Webinar will be one of those one to many sessions.
In the company I'm in, there we have once a month or one every second month or something like that. The CEO is making a video podcast, so it's nearly the same, so we can watch it whenever we want, right? So it's also nice that we don't have to stand up for a town hall once in a while. We can just watch it on the go. So
now, one of the overlooked features of live events from the viewer standpoint is being able to pause it. go do something, hit play, and carry on. So if an emergency comes up, if somebody needs to happen, if you just need to go get a sandwich, hit pause, leave, come back, hit play. Just know when you ask a Q&A question that you may be 10 minutes behind. It's like, why is somebody asking this from, like, you're on the back end answering these questions, like, we haven't talked about that in like 20 minutes. What's this question?
but I remember the old days when you did the boot camp at Microsoft, etc. And I was sometimes driving home from Copenhagen when you went on with the boot camp, and I paused it on my iPad in the car, and I drove home. And when I went home, I just scrolled back and just watched the whole thing, because it was really nice to just be able to sit there. But I missed out on the chat part, right? So it was. That's the thing.
We kept trying to adjust. One of the big feedbacks was always there need to be more breaks or longer breaks. And I'm thinking, like, hit pause. You can take as long a break as you want. Just hit pause, take a half-hour break.
Indeed.
But to your point, it's not quite the same, because then if you want to jump in the Q&A, or the meeting may have ended, you're a half hour behind. It's over, and then the Q&A is just going to go nowhere. We've all left. It's like it's a half hour. I'm not sitting here for an hour waiting for just one question to come in.
When I just because the chat was always moving up, right? So when I went home, I was just like, "Thank you for the good meeting, a good live, good boot camp." So yeah, okay, yeah.
And that's like 1 hour ago that the meeting was ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is a good thing live events has that regular meetings does not. You can't just pause it in real time, right? Just like a DVR kind of feature where you can just pause it in real time and then kind of watch it slower, or you just kind of fast forward through the sections to see if you missed anything exciting, and then you can catch up again with real time.
We all know
regular Teams meetings don't do that.
There's also always some stuff we know that's in the live event, right? So move on to what the focus is for you exactly. So
yeah, and one thing we are really missing with live event is that you can join it from a room. So if you have Teams rooms where you want to sit a couple of people together, that's not possible at the moment with live events.
Yeah, not natively. Ilya, who's the product manager at Microsoft responsible for Teams devices, he said the other day that they're working on something to watch it natively. But I always, you can always HDMI ingest. There's always other ways to, join it off your laptop to watch it. So to be clear on Teams rooms, what Carson's saying is you can't join a live event and watch it in a large conference room. So, hey, let's get 15 people in a large conference room and watch it together. You can't do that natively. On Teams Rooms Windows, you can join as a presenter. So you can, if you're one of the people talking in that, you can do it, but you can't join it just to watch on Teams Rooms other than a laptop with HDMI ingest.
Yeah, and I think
Surface Hub.
I think Ilya was mentioned that it will come to Android soon or something like that. I think he was mentioned that in one of the other.
Being able to be a presenter.
They're looking
exactly. At that
from an Android also.
Yeah, but that has been like soon for a long time.
Like all the rest of the functionality coming very soon.
I think there's more things they need to have control on before they move on to this part, right? So it's not it's nice to have, not a need to have, if you ask me.
I agree. It's a lower priority because there is a decent workaround. It's not like the feature is completely missing. There is a decent workaround, so it's not super high priority. But I think they've heard enough from customers for long enough that like, okay, fine, let's do it.
But I usually actually get a question about this. So in Denmark, when we have this town hall meetings, they would really love to have a Q&A, and we would love to see the person as well. And a live event is not possible to have the Q&A with video. So sometimes they're actually doing a meeting instead. And we, as we just mentioned, you cannot pause it, etc. But sometimes they're doing a meeting and then they push it out as a live event as well afterwards. And that's just another way of doing it on. But people really, the youth today is more into seeing the person who's speaking, etc. It's not just a chat message or a secondary application they have on the phone or something. So they could do something more about live event. I know it will really cost on the Azure side because it will really demand a lot of bandwidth, sending another image to the cloud and back out again. So
Yeah, but I would still say that a lot of people that are using the meetings, like a normal Teams meeting, as a live event or as a webinar, they really should remember the meeting options where they can kind of limit who's have the access to the camera and the microphone, and then that's like easy to give them access to unmute the camera and mic. Where it's like on a live event, they don't have the options to like increase them to be on video or be on audio.
Yeah, and that's a training thing. I mean, I don't schedule a lot of large meetings like presentations, so I don't think about it. But yes, when you're scheduling a larger meeting using just regular Teams meetings, go in and mute every microphone by default, turn off web cameras by default, turn off whatever. If you don't want chat, enable Q&A, whatever. There's a bunch of things often that weird web page you launch off to that you need to set. So it's a training thing, which kind of gets into where we're at. We're starting to use webinars a bit more, I think. We've been in a meeting like explaining to our marketing team webinars versus other platforms, and they reached out to IT to try to get the Teams Premium license added on so that they can then get some of those premium features, such as the landing page. We can have custom graphics that have our company logos and things as opposed to the default Microsoft things. So there's a lot of good things in Teams Premium. Teams Premium, I still think, is a bit of a mess. Too many things that don't line up, but it is good. But and then the good thing is, like, if you're just interested in the webinars feature, only the people who schedule the webinar need to have that license. So even if I'm a person presenting, I just join without it, but all the webinar stuff already is there because the person who created the meeting had the premium license. So it's a good little hack workaround to save money to only the people, have your meeting creator role in your company, give them Teams Premium. They can configure all the fun stuff and the advanced features, and everybody else gets to take advantage of that.
And not to forget the green room where you can, as presenters and so on, meet behind the scene before the webinar is starting and so on. That's a very nice functionality in the premium license. So yeah, it's
something live events had where you've got the inner meeting. You can all hang out and when everyone's ready, go live.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You just need to remember if you hit the go live, then you won't be able to like stop and start the live event again.
Yes, that is the one weird thing about live events is once you start it, you can never you can't. It's a one shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Unlike regular meetings, you can leave and then rejoin the meeting 2 weeks later and keep it going.
The other thing that I'm really missing in live events is like having more layouts. So right now you have like full size of either the presentation or one person or at least one location, but you don't have the option of like we're doing now, having several people in the same video feed, even though we are on 4 different locations. So I think that's definitely something that I would love to see in live event. Because then you don't need to. A lot of people use like a third-party encoder to make sure that it's looking like you want it to have, but right now, directly in live event, you don't have that option. And I guess that's why a lot of people use webinar instead, because then they don't have that limitation.
Yeah, I'm wondering if at some point, because live events hasn't had a lot of development. I'm sure on the background they've been done a lot of little things, but no major features. Kind of since it launched as Skype meeting broadcast back in the day, there's been very little, very little like, oh, look at all these new features we've added. I'm wondering, I don't know this is just me guessing, if webinars is being built out to eventually replace live events. I don't know. I don't know if that engine can scale to 10,000 video feeds, or if it can only go to 1,000 or 2,000 is all in a meeting. 1,000 numbers. There's one of those things like if you ever write a test, don't ever hard code numbers that you can look up online. I'm gonna look it up. I don't want to right now, but it's limited. So I wonder if they're just like at some point just going to sunset live events and all this, because they're doing a lot of innovation, or at least adding features, if not totally innovative, just adding necessary features to the webinar. That it'd be nice if live events had the ability to RSVP and
Yes.
and sign up forms and all that. That webinar has live events. If you ever look at Microsoft ones, they front end it with another service to collect all the RSVPs and the invites. So it's not a native feature like webinars.
Sometimes it also is faster and more sufficient to build a new thing than add on to an old thing, because you need to change so many things in the background, right?
Yep.
So it totally makes sense to do it like that.
I guess it
That
will
could
also make sense that everything would be on the same platform. So kind of development, it will be just one platform instead of like right now live event is on a different platform.
Mhm.
But I agree, like back in the days when I did like a lot of live events in my former job, I built kind of a what's it called, forms and Power Automate to make sure that they could sign up. They get like a link, like you're signed up for this. This is the link to add it to your calendar. And it was like, there was a lot of work in that just to create a live event where like I would say webinar today, that's kind of the same workflow that you do. And I would love that with the live event as well.
Yeah, having that welcome screen as well as you have in the webinar, where you can see the presenter have a biography and saying, okay, who's having the session, and then you can write a few words about each of the persons and so on. That would be a nice add-on also to have a live event on it. So, but yeah, again, probably as you're saying, that 2 different platforms, why not merge it to one and have all the development? And again, as Michael was saying, how much new stuff do we actually see in live event? Well, surprisingly not much. So yeah. And I guess Microsoft probably has a lot of statistics on how big are the live events. Does it actually make sense to have those huge ones, or is it just something that we have in a few companies every quarter or something like that, and the rest of the world is 1,000 enough for that? So yeah.
Yeah, I got to think I'm just guessing, but I got to think the majority of meetings, big meetings, are like 300 people. Like if it's like a massive like blah 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 blah, but then it kind of like goes up the chart and then it just kind of hangs and it just slowly goes up because
seconds there will be like 2,000, then will just drop.
Right, it just drops off. No one has more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see live events at some point like being added to the Teams Premium feature. Like you can't just schedule them anymore. You need them in Teams Premium because it is such a different thing that we need additional funding just to keep the servers running. So we'll take it out of the premium license.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Totally.
Speaking of the premium license, have you guys done much with watermarking, the watermark feature?
No, I haven't tried it yet.
Because there's so many limitations in it that just so everybody's aware of it, watermarking. So you're presenting when you're sharing your desktop, there will be a watermark, and that watermark will be personal for each person doing it. So Lars will have one watermark, and Michael will have one, and so on. So if you are screenshotting something like that, you can actually see who's the bad guy who took it. But that removes a lot of functionality because recording and so on is not possible because there are different streams and so on. I played a little about it, but I like the idea, but it just removes a lot of functionality that I'm finding kind of ruined the meeting experience.
But to be honest, where do you want to use it?
If you have a confidential data, like if you're sitting 5 people talking about a secret project, we have this new Teams meeting room device, and we don't want to let anyone knows it, then it makes perfect sense. If you're screenshotting it, then we will know it's you. It
does, but wouldn't you be able to remove the watermark? If we look at the movie industry, right?
Yeah.
They have been onto this for years. And the things is, I used to build cinemas, and I was there when we went digital and everything, and we still put watermarking on it. And yeah, of course, there is the limitations of copies of movies, etc., but it was still around. So I haven't seen the demand for it, even though I have plenty of manufacturers, but that's probably because they're going to share it somewhere else. I don't know. But that's not where I see it, because normally they will share this information with another part of the company and they've signed an NDA on forehand, etc. So I actually don't see it that much need here in Europe, at least, but somewhere probably. But
I agree. Yeah. I don't think there's a big need for it. It's just, hey, new functionality, of course, we need to test it. It's more the geek in me, but yeah.
It also makes it like really complicated when you snip the stuff that you're not allowed to, and then you need to like edit all the things.
Yeah, exactly. This is
so you need kind of an AI to remove watermarks in all my
Invite me
snips.
to those meetings.
Yeah, I'm not important enough to go to those meetings. They don't invite me to those.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, it's probably been a request from some organizations since it's now there. I don't see it like a big deal from my point, even though that every now and then do some NDA stuff. But like you said, Michael, it's like if you're doing NDA stuff, then you also have an agreement on this is confidential and you don't share this.
I think it's more checkmark that you can say, yeah, we have that functionality. Somebody asked for it, and we can put the big list out and say, hey, Zoom can do it, we can do it. I mean,
yeah, probably right.
I mean, that's how it goes.
So it's just a battle of features.
Do you want to pay a premium license to get it?
I don't know what licensing about Zoom, but
no, I'm just curious about like premium. So like a lot of people are talking about what is premium and what does it actually include. Watermarking is one of those things where it like gives a feature. But what else is in the premium feature that like if you have a company and you want to have like we doing confidential stuff, then you would need to have like premium license for all the people that do confidential stuff.
Yeah.
And
I think
who could that potential be in a company? Everybody, right? So
I think one of the good thing about the Teams premium license is that you have the option to make some templates about meeting contents, because you can do different stuff where you're securing them and you call it NDA or your kind of internal security and so on. And to be honest, users don't sit down and learn how to do it because you have to do a lot of change in the meetings. Here with the Teams license, you have the option to create some templates saying when you create a meeting, you have a drop down saying this is an open space meeting where everybody is allowed to say and do stuff. Mm-hmm. Do we have internal? Do we have some legal limitations on it and so on? So we can make some templates where it's set up the meeting the right way. And especially when it's confidential. I mean, the people that are doing that are mostly, I don't think we should generalize, but those people are mostly not the most technical people in the organization. So it's an easy way of creating something that they easily can create confidential meeting where we put on some kind of security on it. But yeah, that is one. That's actually one of the biggest things I see in the Teams premium license at the moment. Ease of access for the different functionalities.
Another premium license, not a premium license, but a premium feature that I actually use sometimes is like the translation. Yeah. So I'm starting the transcription and then doing translation. I know, like I'm working in the Nordics, and people in Norway and Sweden are very happy about speaking Norwegian and Danish. And to be honest, I don't understand everything that they say. So sometimes if it's someone that is like speaking with a dialect that I don't really understand, I turn on transcription and translate it just so I can look down at the translation if it's like.
Yeah, that's when people are concerned, like, why is that a for pay feature? It's I mean, I'm sure it uses a little more processing on the back end to do the translation, but it's not, I don't know. But you know, I'm sure there's a reason, a rationale for why that should be there for why translation costs. But that's one that could just as easily be dumped into the free package and get something a little more niche into the for pay.
I think it's
say you would go to this. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I think it's actually for adding functionality to the premium license, because when it first came out in the preview, so there was not that many features on it. So I think it was, and that's totally my own opinion on it. That's probably just filling out the feature list that can justify buying a premium license, because again, it's not that hard on the data requirements for translating texts. I mean.
But think about sitting with your TV at home with Netflix on, and you have to pay extra to choose the language. for subtitling?
Yeah, you don't.
No.
You don't.
But,
Right.
but Michael, it's not subtitling because we have subtitles, including in the normal one. I mean, actually, right now I'm sitting and using it, and I have our transcripting running in English. If I want to change, because our spoken language is English, I want to change it, and it's writing to me in Danish, for example. That's where we need the premium license. So on the spoken language, it's included with the subtitle. It's only if you want to change the output of that text that we're seeing.
But still, let's say I want to watch a Spanish movie. I don't speak Spanish. I want small subtitling on it. It is. I just put it up there because I don't think people should pay extra for that feature, in my opinion.
I agree. I think it should be like one of the things where this is part of Teams, and this is why you should choose Teams. It's because it have great features that could be used by all the employees instead of just like adding on additional licenses.
Yeah. Again, it's a marketing machine that needs to run out. So,
it is.
Yeah, they were low on budget that quarter, so. Go ahead, Michael.
No, I was just gonna say that's the only really controversial one, I think, in Teams Premium. All the rest are kind of smaller features that put together are really useful, such as all the advanced webinar features and some of the advanced security features that are in there.
Yeah. And then there's like the Copilot that we didn't speak much about until So what do you think, and who will use Copilot in the meetings? Where do you see it, Michael?
I don't know. I need to use it to see the value of it. In a meeting, Copilot is, the way you can query. What is the, apparently, because I haven't used it yet. Apparently, you can say what is the tone of the meeting? Is it combative? Is it cordial? Is it friendly? Is it whatever? Hey, I joined the meeting late. Can you catch me up on what I've missed? Teams Premium, though, also has a after meeting recap feature, which is different than Copilot, where after the meeting, you'll say, hey, these are the action items, these are the notes, even to the point of this is where people spoke throughout the meeting. So if I only care about what Carsten has to say and I don't care what Lars has to say, I can just fast forward all the Carsten sections. But that's another Teams Premium one, which is weird. If you need meeting recap, then you can also create webinars. Okay. Okay, cool. Teams Premium. But I think ultimately it's depends on how much you want automation to be the secretary of your meeting, taking the notes for you as opposed to having some, because there's always in a meeting I never take notes. Just I never take notes. It's rare. I do on some customer calls that their feedback and things, but I rarely do. But there's always a person in a meeting who's a note taker, not the official note taker, but there's always that one person that that's the way they operate. So I always assume someone else is taking the notes. So I would be a good candidate for either Copilot or the Teams Premium meeting recap, because I don't take notes, but boom, here it is. Here's the recap with all the notes and everything. Or during the call, I can say hey, save that as a note. Save
but I have a question on that one. So Copilot between two MTR rooms, then would it do anything to it? Where will it be done?
For Teams rooms, it raises the thing of, so when you do a meeting recap and it says, the decision was made to increase the price of the product. Who? Speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3,
exactly.
who's that? That's where then, so the intelligent speaker feature, which currently is you have to have a Yalink, ePause, or Sennheiser speaker puck. Soon, the PaniCast 50 will support it as well.
Oh, okay.
If people go through and leave their voice prints, if people go through, if corporations allow biometric data, if you set up the meeting correctly, then Teams rooms can then in the transcript, it can start saying hey, Michael Tressler said let's increase the price.
Yeah,
Lars Berlau said let's not increase.
Yeah.
So,
but
that is where Teams rooms can tie into Copilot. Then is that transcript happening in a conference room where it isn't right now. We all have dedicated mics and speakers, so we know exactly who is saying what when. In a conference room, it's a little different. So, intelligent speaker is one of the things that'll lead towards a better Copilot experience than what we have today.
But would it be handled by the power of the machine, or would it be handled in Azure of the device itself in the room?
Azure.
Azure.
It's
okay.
not. It's not the transcript. Then the voice identification is handled on the back end. It's not handled at the edge. Otherwise, you'd have to take everybody's voice print, copy it down to the device.
Exactly.
The device would have to have these algorithms to match.
It only works in this meeting room, not in that meeting room.
That could very well be the case too.
But would there be anything, because some of the systems will not be able to get to Windows 11? Would there be anything, the barrier there?
Nope. Intelligent Speaker has been out for about 2 years,
so
it's been a Windows 10
Cortana
thing.
is dead now, so yeah.
It's not. Yeah, Cortana's dead. Long live. Cortana's dead. Long live Copilot.
Yeah.
It's also not a Android thing. It's Windows only at this point as well.
Yeah. But like in the start of the intelligent speaker, it was like most of the speakers or speaker phones that was out there is like intended for smaller meeting rooms. And we didn't really have a solution. Like if the P50 is going to be supported, then I guess that will be in a larger room compared to the other devices.
There's still limitations. Originally, it was 10. It can only recognize 10 voices. So a medium-sized room would be the most. I think, but doc/learn hasn't been updated. I think they've increased that to a larger room. However, the PanaCast 50 is still limited to small and medium certifications. So there still isn't, even if it could get to 20 voices, there technically isn't a device. I don't want to speak for Sennheiser, EPOS, or Yealink. I don't think they're certified for a large room either.
Nope. No. And if you ever tried any of those products, you will find out that the microphone pickup range is not that far.
Oh, it's really
really narrow.
So when it was released, a 10-person room, then the Sennheiser, EPOS, Yealink pucks were fine. Small and medium room, ours is going to be fine, but large, that's still. There's no certified intelligent speaker for large rooms.
But as we spoke about early on, we live in Denmark. You're not allowed to have anything on the table, so we don't have any pucks.
No intelligent speakers anywhere in Denmark.
Nope. Are we aware of other one coming out? I mean, the PanaCast 50 are saying Michael is coming. Do we know of other ones? Is Poly coming out with someone that are speed recognition? Or do we have any official? No, we don't have any. Okay, good.
Not to my knowledge.
I think your Jabra's Android device has a powerful Android engine, and it's not running any systems and it can be hooked up to things like that, so to Windows devices. So
because I think that is one of the important things to know, especially, I mean, my role is at helping companies get the right solution and so on. Then you need to keep on looking forward a year or two ahead, because what's happening. Because, I mean, for a couple of years, we were talking about, hey, touchscreen, we need that, and you couldn't really use it for anything. And now, hey, whiteboard is pushed out, and everybody saying, hey, why didn't you force us to get touchscreens? Because now we can't use it because we're saving a buck or two or something like that. So I see this one as again, it has been out for a couple of years, but I see something that really I begin moving on it, because we see this that Microsoft are really pushing out Copilots. A lot of the technologies just kind of have been developed but have just been standing by, are being pushed out now big time, and actually I begin using instead of just a nerdy feature that saying, hey, it's kind of nice that you can recognize the voice. But I think that makes perfect meaning that we'll get like a recaps and so on.
The intelligent speaker was always kind of niche, primarily for regulated users. Those people have to write down every single phone call they make. All their phone calls are recorded. Their emails are saved for decades. Those people, when they go into a conference room, we have to know, did Michael say it? Did Karsten say it? Did Lars say it? Did other Michael say it? We need to have that in the official record. So it was very small use case. When Sennheiser released theirs, about a year and a half ago, I was talking to them. They said, you know what, we were designing a brand new speaker puck, and it was just air quotes easy to just add this feature on. If it sells us an extra 50, cool, but it wasn't a major, we didn't have to do massive engineering to add this feature.
Nope.
So, and same with the PanaCast 50 has been out a year and a half, so we didn't design it with that in mind. It just ends up our speaker array or whatever can do it to Microsoft's
just
specs.
put some touch on top of it and
Yeah, you just sprinkle
Bang,
some
new
AI
feature.
on there,
Yeah.
and there you go. Get a bucket of AI. But now with Copilot, it starts becoming interesting for normal people like us who aren't regulated, who don't have to have all our stuff documented. That if you go Copilot, and then if people want to have the intelligent meeting, well, with Teams Premium intelligent meeting recap or Copilot dynamic meeting query stuff, it becomes useful now to a lot larger user base than before. So who knows? We don't know if it's going to be huge or not, but apparently we did it. So
exactly. Yeah. When there's a use for it, then it makes sense. So yeah.
It would be interesting to see if like the technology is built in Azure or is driven in Azure. Why couldn't it be in other microphones as well? I mean,
I guess it's kind of like content camera. Why isn't every camera a content camera?
Yeah.
Why is it only like a subset of like 10 cameras or 15 cameras that can do it? And I can answer partially some of that. Microsoft, so the intelligent speaker is a Microsoft patent that they did something with a microphone array in order to pick up the voices. And so there's some kind of magic that it isn't air quotes super easy. At least it wasn't when they wrote it. Now that Azure has more power and blah, 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 maybe that's why our bar is now going to be certified. We may not have the micro array that they initially designed, but it's close enough that they can adjust the algorithm. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not on the engineering side. And then content cameras, they have to like adjust the frame rate so that, and not every camera can you lower the frame rate because back when it was released, this is all guess, too many images of the whiteboard were coming in and overrunning the algorithm. So they had to be able to dumb down the camera, and not every camera can be air quotes dumbed down.
Nope.
But
okay. That's interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, but now there's more processing, there's more Azure power, so there may be a lot more to it, but you also see, Logitech can do it on camera. A couple other people are doing it on camera. A bunch of other companies are now doing it. I don't know if they require a custom camera or if they're just like build a custom camera like Logitech did. So I think so that the whole content camera thing is growing, but I don't know where Microsoft is as far as certifying more cameras for that.
The funny part is I don't see a request from the European market of a content camera. Most likely people will purchase a Teams panel or board from some vendor, or they will purchase a touchscreen and hook it up to a Windows
whiteboard.
Yep. Exactly.
Or Android. Yep.
I think that when the first content cameras came out, there was a lot of interest for it, and when I demonstrated it for customers, they were like, "Oh, that's nice. That's what we want."
That's awesome.
But
exactly, it was
actually selling some was like, that was not a lot.
The thing is, Crestron actually had it before Microsoft went out with it together with somebody else, and they had like brought into something called their media, and you can showcase a whiteboard, etc. And schools and everything was really fan of it, but here in Denmark we use blackboards with chalk. So
old school.
They couldn't pick it up right. So it was just like, no, we can't use it. So
content cameras require a whiteboard, not a blackboard. It has to be white.
And you have even on some universities in Denmark, you have these old lectures and everything. They want that blackboard, so you cannot change it. So
and if you change it to a touchscreen anyway, so the price is not that crazy anymore. So
no. Yeah, no, you have 2 at home, Carsten. So
actually, I'm up to 3 now. 4 touchscreens now. So you don't have to go down on equipment.
Touchscreen.
That's needed.
Exactly, it is, and I use it a lot, especially after the whiteboard is coming out. That it's easy to access, and so you don't need to have a PC joining the meeting and so on. I'm really a big fan of the touchscreen options that we have now. So
if only Apple could figure out how to make a touchscreen on a Mac. It's apparently an incredibly difficult computer science problem for Apple engineers. They can figure it out on a phone, they can figure it out on a tablet, but they just can't figure out how to put it in Mac OS. You don't know how many times I've been on a Mac OS and I just look to reach like, okay, oh, it's the OK button's right in front of me. Okay, oh crap, where's the mouse? Let me move it around. Click. Like, leave that to the engineers to figure out.
And
But it is.
the same goes for the Surface Hub, right? It has a perfect screen and everything.
Oh yeah.
Some of us know which brand it is, but you cannot purchase it other than the Surface Hub. You cannot purchase that screen.
Correct.
Somewhere.
Kind of. You can get the Surface. What is the PC Surface one? Has the screen.
Yeah.
Studio, yeah, but you got to buy the underpowered PC. I guess they've boosted the PC on the latest release, but yeah, you still can't buy it separately. I wonder if that's going to change now that Surface Hub goes Teams Rooms, so it loses the uniqueness of the operating system. That now it's like, okay, just sell the screen. Although what I've heard is the screen is so expensive. Oh, I guess they sold no Surface Hubs for a long time. That it's still a very expensive screen. It'd be really, but then didn't Mac sell a $2,000 screen?
Yeah, they did.
Didn't Apple sell a $2,000 screen? So why not? Microsoft, hey, the cheapest we can sell it for is $4,000, but it's awesome.
But hey, Apple should just put in from the phones, right? So just put it in $3,000 screens, and then we will all be happy.
But as far as the best writing experience, I haven't seen anyone coming close to the Surface Hub. I've seen some that are nice and decent to use, but the Surface Hub is just an amazing product when you're standing and drawing and then whiteboarding and so on. So but again, as you were saying that, hey, Surface Hub is dropping out. It's interesting to see who will take that place for being, the crown of whiteboarding.
All I know is I'm okay with that switch because I have a Surface Hub right here to my left. I'm okay with that Teams Room switch because 99% of the time I use it as a TV with a Chromecast plugged in. So like HDMI interest
that's
on Teams
expensive
Room,
TV.
I can still use it as my TV.
But I guess that's what most people are using it for. Like, hit the join button and then sit down. Yeah, and that's honestly not a great meeting device.
It's not, especially since on the trolley, the cart, whatever, it's angled, intended for you to be standing in front of it. So
I kind of like the new camera. Actually, it's giving something to it, but still, it's They should just have done something when you just brought it into a room and it will just pick up and you had a whiteboard directly into the TV room. That would be really awesome.
Coordinated meeting is kind of okay for the static one, but just the functionality to do some beacon or something like that, saying, hey, I'm a whiteboard, automatically join me in that would have been awesome. Speaking
of beacons, have you guys noticed how well Teams client picks up that you're in a conference room? I mean, I've got we all have probably 2 or 3 around us. It's like within a second, it's like, you should join this meeting without audio. I'm like, this ultrasonic beacon thingy is great. I don't think that gets talked about enough. That just kind of got rolled out. We just went live one day, and I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. It's working.
And it's kind of funny because it's quite huge that we now have that great enhancement of joining, and nobody talked about it.
Yeah, it really didn't get publicized by Microsoft. Yeah, I just kind of noticed it one day. I'm like, well, some version of the Teams client got updated. Same with the Teams rooms and whatever has to be able to send the signal. So some combination of sometime within the last month, 2 months, that got enabled, and that is a game changer. I remember back in the Skype days, there was like these trying to like, hey, if you're going to join in a meeting, do this, do that. And it was a lot of end users and still a lot of squealing and feedback. But now it's pretty much within a second of getting to that pre-meeting join screen, it changes the default from local audio to join without audio.
And in old days, it was a tablet when you have to demo it because you might stand and waiting for 28 seconds. Come on, show me that there's a meeting.
The worst part is actually if you have more than one Android device and you're going to demo them all together in the same call, because you cannot just press mute on the volume like you can on the Windows. You don't have this mute all. You have to tap and tap and tap.
Yeah.
That's quite annoying, but yeah.
But now you got like decreasing by 5 instead of 1. So now you only have
That's
to
true.
push 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a nice functionality. I really enjoy that it's popping up fast now and working.
Yeah.
It's again funny that nobody has been really more pay attention to it, or more blog post or anything like that, because it is one of the major things when I'm demonstrating Teams Room and nobody really knows what you can do and so on. It's just these sat down with your PC and hey, use the room instead of it, click OK and you're ready to go. No user needs to add something or click 20 buttons or adjust anything. Just join the meeting with the room.
Or even know about that option. You don't have. Yes, because when I was at Microsoft towards the end, we started sending the message of, hey, even though you're in the conference room, join the meeting from your laptop.
Yeah.
That way you can at least participate in chat. You can easily share things, whatever. If you have turn on your webcam, it's pointing directly at you. We now have these center of table things that, may or may not take off. Some companies will buy them, some won't. But you still have a camera pointing directly at your face versus the whole room camera. So that was being pushed, but you still had to let people know, hey, go down to the bottom and click join without, and then squealing and mute, and everybody's yelling. So that kind of makes joining a meeting for the average end user joining the meeting from your laptop in the conference room now becomes a reality of something you should really tell your employees to do, because it's so easy now.
There's more reason for it today, because today you have this 21 by 9 or 32 by 9 front row rooms, and you don't have that much for content, right? But I had a customer who is building a lot of rooms these days, and what they did is, we don't want so many screens in the room, even though it's 15 meters long, this room, right? So people can just join from the laptop and see the content there. So sitting 40 people in there, they have to join with the laptops.
Join with this guy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. They will be able to see what's happening on the screen, just in front of them. So
got like room remote on the PC as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many actually knows what it is or uses it, but you have the option now from the PC.
You have
as well.
the option of remote. I think it has some flaws still. It's not working all the time. So yeah.
No, I would more say like the frustration from a lot of users is that cross-tenant thing. So what are the requirements for actually do like proximity join, and that's like something that is at least from the customers that I've talked to, is not like fully functional, like a guest going into a organization and then want to do like a proximity join. That's not fully functioning.
I'm trying to remember where we left it when I was at Microsoft of proximity join across tenant. I think it's not working.
It is possible.
Yeah, it is possible, but it seems like you talked about, Michael, at some point where you like entering the mail address of a system and then it do like a local catch, and then you can actually dial to that person. But it seems like when you're connected or have been connected to that device before, then it's easier to do like a proximity join. But
because last time I was out in the real world in an office, I was a Jabra employee, went to the Microsoft office, and I was trying to proximity join to one of their MTRs, and it would not do it. The only way I could join the meeting was using the meeting codes. Type in the code and the passcode, and that let me in. But the proximity join, just nothing. So I don't know if Microsoft turned that off, or I think it just didn't.
I would really love them to have the option of putting in a QR code next to the meeting code, because like you have on shared device, because I would love that in the meeting room as well. Just scan the QR code, tap, move my meeting.
Well, the first Microsoft QR code for meetings is the panel. So you can reserve a room on the Teams panel via QR code. And then isn't there something on the Teams displays with QR codes?
Yeah.
There is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
like
it would be nice to have
that function. I would just like to have in the meeting rooms as well. That would be nice.
It would be really nice, even though the QR code, security breach, blah blah blah, but it's on a screen, so it can change, right? So yeah.
Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks, Michael, for joining. If you like short videos like this, please go and follow us where you see us now.
Let's talk about Teams with Michael Tressler.